Hey, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy Tropicalnhl back at it again for a brand new YouTube video. Today we're going to be doing the NHL playoff bracket challenge, and we're going to be trying to predict the way the playoffs are going to go. Playoffs are starting in 4 days, and even if my Montreal Canadiens aren't part of it, I'm definitely going to be following all the teams in the playoffs. Really good matchups. Toronto's facing the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round. The Edmonton Oilers are facing the LA Kings. The New Jersey Devils are facing the New York Rangers. So already in the first round, there's a ton of matchups that could have ended up being the Western or the Eastern Conference final. So yeah, today we're going to be predicting the playoffs. But before getting into that, I invite you guys to subscribe if you haven't already. We're trying to get the 5K before the summer. And since 75% of people watching the videos are not subscribed, you could really help me out by subscribing to the channel. Let's try and get 100 likes again on this video as well. That would be amazing. So yeah, let's get right into the predictions. Yeah, before getting into the predictions, I'll let you guys know that I'll put my bracket challenge link in the description down below and in the pinned comment. So if you want to participate at the NHL bracket challenge with me in my league, you're free to do it. The winner might win something. I don't know. I'll see at the end of it. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be giving away something to the winner. So we're going to be starting with the Western Conference, and after we're going to be doing the Eastern Conference. Since I think that the Eastern Conference is a little bit better than Western Conference, I'll get to the more interesting series at the end of the video. Colorado Avalanche versus Seattle Kraken. This one is really interesting. We have the defending Stanley Cup champions without their captain because he's injured, playing against this really good Seattle Kraken team with a lot of young guys, a lot of good veterans that really surprised a lot of people this year. I mean, it's only their second year in the NHL, and they were in the conversation for the Pacific Division title at some point during the season. They finally locked on a wild card spot, but they're definitely a team to watch for the playoffs. But I definitely do think that the Colorado Avalanche are going to be a little bit too much for them to handle. I think that they're going to be a great opposition, but I still do think that the Colorado Avalanche are going to win that series in 5 games. Games are going to be close. There's going to be a lot of overtimes, but the experience of the Colorado Avalanche's players is going to win it against that really young Seattle Kraken team. So yeah, for that reason, I'm going to go with the Colorado Avalanche winning in 5 games. Dallas Stars playing against the Minnesota Wild. This one's going to be pretty interesting because the Dallas Stars have been really good the entire season. I mean, they have great mix of young talent and good veterans. We have guys like Jamie Benn, who was really reborn this year, Tyler Seguin, who was pretty decent as well, Joe Pavelski, all of those guys. But you also have Wyatt Johnson, Ropey Ince, Jason Robertson, Miro Heiskanen, Jake Ottinger, who are really young. I feel like the Dallas Stars are going to be really good in those playoffs. Yes, the Minnesota Wild played some good games during the season, but I do think that the depth in the Dallas Stars' lineup, though the veterans that have the experience in the playoffs, and the fact that they have probably the best young guys in the National Hockey League in Miro Heiskanen, Jason Robertson, and Jake Ottinger in net, I'm going to be going with the Dallas Stars for this one in 6 games. The Vegas Golden Knights playing against the Winnipeg Jets. This one is pretty tricky because the Vegas Golden Knights, I think they finished first in the Western Conference. The Winnipeg Jets were first at some point in the Western Conference. They were by far the best team in the West. But for some reason, Connor Hellebuck started doing some random stuff. They weren't able to score goals anymore. Kyle Connor, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Mark Scheifele, all of those guys were struggling to get goals and points. And they flew all the way down to a wild card spot. And they were even in a battle for the last wild card spot with the Predators of Nashville and the Calgary Flames. They ended up making it, but I think that if they can wake up and be back to what they were before all of those weird stuff happened, I definitely think that they could match up the Vegas Golden Knights. It would all depend on which Winnipeg Jets team is gonna go and be in the playoffs. Is it going to be the Winnipeg Jets of the start of the season, or is it going to be the Winnipeg Jets of the end of the season? Those two teams are really different. I think that is going to be a close series, but I'm still gonna give the edge to the Vegas Golden Knights because they've been way more consistent throughout the season. All right, this one is probably the best playoff series in the Western Conference. It's going to be a matchup. The Edmonton Oilers facing the LA Kings. I mean, they played against each other last year as well. The LA Kings got a lot better and the Oilers got a lot better as well. So since it was already a good playoff series last year, I can't imagine how good it will be this year as well. There's starting to be a really interesting rivalry between the two teams. I think that those two teams have a legitimate chance of going to the Stanley Cup Finals if they get through that playoff series. I really do think that the team that's going to win that first round is going to go straight to the Stanley Cup Final. And even though I really like the LA Kings, I think that Connor McDavid is just going to be on a mission. The addition of Matthias Ekholm, I really liked. Since he got with the Edmonton Oilers, they've been really good, probably the best team in the entire NHL. So for that reason, I'm gonna go with the Edmonton Oilers winning against the LA Kings in 7 games, just like last year. So here we are now in the second round of the Western Conference. First off, we have a matchup between the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. This one could be really interesting. I mean, the Dallas Stars are a good team. The Colorado Avalanche are the defending champs. They have a lot of guys that left the team, and Nazem Kadri, a lot of injured as well. Don't know if Lehkonen is going to be back at that point. They don't have Darcy Kemper in net anymore, and they don't have their captain and Gabriel Landeskog. So for those reasons, I don't think that they're gonna go back to back, and I really do think that the Dallas Stars have the better team right now. So for that reason, I'm gonna be going with the Dallas Stars winning this playoff series in 6 games. The other one I think is a little bit less interesting. Is going to be a battle between the Edmonton Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, they both really have nice teams. I mean, the Vegas Golden Knights have been really good. They don't have a lot of experience in net. If they go with Jonathan Quick, he's a bit older, and I don't think that he has what it takes to bring a team to the Stanley Cup Final anymore. It would have been interesting to see the Vegas Golden Knights face the LA Kings in the second round. But the Edmonton Oilers versus the Vegas Golden Knights would be really interesting as well. But because of the offensive superpower of Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and even Zach Hyman, I think that the Edmonton Oilers are just gonna roll through the Vegas Golden Knights and win this playoff series in 5 games. Now we're headed straight to the Western Conference Final for a battle between the Edmonton Oilers and the Dallas Stars. So we probably have 2 of the best young teams in the National Hockey League. I mean, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are still young. We have Jason Robertson, who's probably the most upcoming goal scorer in the National Hockey League. You have the next Carey Price and Jake Ottinger. Miro Iskanen has been absolutely amazing. Stuart Skinner, who's been actually decent, a lot better than Jack Campbell. I think that the big reason why the Edmonton Oilers did not go to the Stanley Cup Final last year and lost in the Western Conference Final against the Colorado Avalanche was because of their goaltending. I genuinely think that Stuart Skinner is a lot better than Mike Smith was last year. For that reason, I think it's going to be a close playoff matchup, but I'm going to go with the Edmonton Oilers going to the Stanley Cup Final for the first time since 2006. And I have them winning that playoff series in 7 games. Could go either way. To be honest, the Dallas Stars in the Stanley Cup Final wouldn't be surprising. That the 2 best teams in the West right now are the Stars and the Oilers. Who is gonna be facing the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup Final? There are a lot of good teams in the East, so it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. The first matchup that we're gonna predict is between the Boston Bruins and Florida Panthers. I mean, the 2022-2023 Boston Bruins are the best team to ever play in the National Hockey League. They broke all the records. Linus Ullmark, Jeremy Swayman, best tandem in the National Hockey League by far. They have a lot of depth in the offense, a lot of depth in the defense, probably the best defensive core in the National Hockey League. They're big, they're fast, they're strong, they have everything to be good in the playoffs. The Florida Panthers were in the lottery conversation at some point. They made the comeback, made the playoffs by 1 point over the Buffalo Sabres. I think that the Panthers could would give the Boston Bruins a pretty good matchup, but the Boston Bruins are just going to be too good for the poor Panthers and are going to win this playoff series in 5 games. I do think that the games are going to be close. I do think that the Boston Bruins might go to win 2 overtime a couple of games, but they're going to be winning this easily in 5 games. Second matchup is between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Toronto Maple Leafs. For a second year in a row, those two teams are going to be facing each other in the first round. Last year, the Tampa Bay Lightning won it in 7 games and ended up making to the Stanley Cup final for a 3rd straight year. Are they going to be going to the Stanley Cup final for a 4th straight appearances? I do think that this one is going to be the closest matchup between all of them in the first round. The Tampa Bay Lightning have the experience. They have Andrei Vasilevsky in net, Steven Stamkos, Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, all of that depth in the offensive and in the defensive. But the Toronto Maple Leafs improved a lot in the trade deadline. It's by far the best trade deadline acquisition that Kyle Dubas ever made. He knows that if they lose in the first round, he's losing his job. So for that reason, even though they have pretty weak goaltenders, I mean, Samsonov has been good in the regular season, but the playoffs are a completely different thing. But still, I think that the Tampa Bay Lightning are starting to be a little bit tired of their long playoff runs every year. So I'm gonna go with the Toronto Maple Leafs finally winning a Game 7 and winning that playoff series in 7 games. Next matchup is going to be between Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Islanders. I mean, the New York Islanders don't have Matthew Barzal. I have no idea if he's going to come back for the playoffs. They acquired Bo Horvat, who's been pretty weak compared to what he was in Vancouver. So for me, this one is going to be pretty easy. I'm just going to go with the Carolina Hurricanes winning this in 4 games. I think that this is going to be the only sweep of the first round. I think that even without Svechnikov and without Pacioretty, they are just too good to lose to the New York Islanders. And with all the players they have, both in the defense and in the offense, I think that they have everything to beat the Islanders in 4 games. And I think that the Islanders are the weakest team in those playoffs. So for all of those reasons, Carolina in 4. Next matchup, and probably one of the most interesting ones, is between the New Jersey Devils and the New York Rangers. I mean, the New Jersey Devils probably the biggest surprise this year in the NHL. We expected them to be good, but not that good that fast. They were one of the best teams in the National Hockey League, and now that Luke Hughes is there as well, and he's been looking really good in a couple of games he played, they're gonna get even more dangerous. They have Simon Nemec coming also in the next couple of years, Alexander Holtz, and they acquired Timo Meier at the trade deadline. The New Jersey Devils are easily one of the most dangerous teams in the Eastern Conference. The New York Rangers are pretty dangerous as well. I mean, they acquired Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko, and all of those guys. But I think that the New Jersey Devils have the edge because they have that superstar elite talent in Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes is by far one of the best players in the National Hockey League, and I think that he's going to be the difference maker in that playoff series. I think it's going to be a really, really close playoff matchup. I'm going to be rooting for the Rangers and my buddy Patrick Kane, but I have to go with the New Jersey Devils winning this playoff series in 7 games. Now time for the second round in the East. We have the Boston Bruins facing the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, this is a classic. It's been a while since they played against each other, but the rivalry between the two teams is just going to be wow. It's going to be probably one of the best playoff matchup we've seen in the last 5 years. I mean, they usually face off each other in the first round. It's going to be the first time in the second round if it does happen. And surprisingly, I think it's going to be a pretty close matchup. Since the Maple Leafs are going to win their first playoff series, they're going to be less nervous. They're going to have a better mojo. For that reason, I think it's going to be close, but the Boston Bruins are just too good. So I'm going to go with them winning this playoff series in 7 games. Next playoff matches is between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New Jersey Devils. Two pretty similar teams in the way they play, but because of all the injuries, the Carolina Hurricanes have Max Pacioretty, Andrei Svechnikov. Svechnikov is a big part of this team. The New Jersey Devils are not the New York Islanders, so for that reason, I'm gonna go with the New Jersey Devils winning this series, and they're going to be winning this series in 6 games. So it brings us with the Eastern Conference Final between the Boston Bruins and the New Jersey Devils. This would be an insane matchup. Two of the most complete teams in the National Hockey League. Would be really, really insane to see. But because I think that the Boston Bruins are just too good, I'm gonna go with them winning this playoff series in 6 games. Games are gonna be close. It's going to be intense, but the Boston Bruins are just too good. They have the experience. They have the 1-2 punch of Bergeron, Krejci down the middle, who are two of the best two-way centers in the NHL. And they also have that franchise caliber player in David Pastrnak. So for that reason, man, and even in net, they're way better. I'm just going to go with the Boston Bruins, joining the Edmonton Oilers in the Stanley Cup Final by winning against the New Jersey Devils in 6 games. As for the Stanley Cup Final, we have Connor McDavid against David Pastrnak, the two best goal scorers in the National Hockey League this year, both getting over 60 goals. You have Stuart Skinner against Linus Ullmark, two really, really surprising young goaltenders in net. I think that this one is going to be probably the best Stanley Cup Final we're gonna have since the 2019 one between the Bruins and the St. Louis Blues. I think that this one's going to be really, really close, but I'm gonna go with the Boston Bruins because of how good they are defensively compared to the Edmonton Oilers, winning this playoff series in 7 games. So we have it. The Boston Bruins are going to be the 2023 Stanley Cup champions, in my opinion. So yeah, if you want to join my link, I'll leave the link in the description. Submit your bracket into my league. The guy that's going to get the most point out of it, I'm going to be contacting him and giving him away something. Still don't know what it's going to be. But yeah, it's been your boy Tropical NHL. This was my NHL bracket challenge. Subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, share, do anything you want, and I'll see y'all later in another video. Have a nice rest of your day, and bye-bye.